How's it going, DC fans? Welcome back to another Joaquin Phoenix Joker origin movie update. And I didn't expect to be making one this soon, but Collider actually had an interview with him recently, and they've got another one coming out soon, which I'm really looking forward to reading and learning a lot more about it, since now everything's on the table, everything's kind of confirmed in terms of things going forward with him playing the Joker and everything like that. A lot more juicy stuff will come out the cracks. But that brings us to today's video, because Collider spoke to Joaquin Phoenix about whether he was nervous for the movie, also in how he actually had an idea for a movie just like this around 3 or 4 years ago, and a few other things just like that. So I'm gonna read them out, break them down, give my thoughts on it, and yeah, stick around guys, because this video is pretty sweet if you're into everything Joker and, you know, Joker origin movie-esque. But as usual, everybody, be sure to click the card somewhere at the top of this video. I can never remember where the freaking which angle of the box it's at for my last coverage on the Joker movie, and also be sure to subscribe for more content just like this. Also, if you do go on to enjoy this video, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button, as it really does just show support for the channel. Now guys, as you know, I'm actually quite excited for this movie, because it's mainly stepping away from the kind of stain that the DCEU has put on my mind. Now, I will get to what Joaquin Phoenix has said, like quote unquote stuff, but just like a brief rundown, you know, a couple of days after everything's been confirmed with Joaquin Phoenix taking on the role as the Joker in this Elseworlds type universe. Honestly, with more time to reflect on it, I'm just happy. And especially with what he says in this interview, the vibe and with what Todd Phillips and Joaquin have kind of agreed on it and where it's going, it's just, I think it's going to really make people happy. And for everybody who's not really liking the idea of it, I think you will potentially come around. So Steve from Collider, I think he's known as Frosty as well, sat down with Joaquin Phoenix before, I believe a couple of months ago, and he asked him about the Joker origin movie, and he was quite guarded about it. But recently Joaquin opened up a lot more about it, which was surprising to him, and he said the following, especially when asked about is he nervous to take on the role, because obviously, you know, it's big shoes to fill. We have Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson, Cesar Romero, like so many other people that have done amazing jobs, well, depending on your opinion. But if I was an actor and I just landed this role, how would you not feel like you have to live up to so many people's expectations? No matter what though, people are gonna love it and hate it. But this is what Joaquin had to say. I take a lot of time and consideration when making decisions and what I'm gonna work on always. So in some ways, the process, which is obviously reading a script and meeting with a filmmaker and then continuing to have meetings and discussions with Todd Phillips, I think he's very impressive, and he seems to have a very interesting understanding of this world and what he's trying to say. And so there is something very appealing about that and working with him on this particular project. It feels unique. It is its own world in some ways, and maybe mostly it scares the fucking shit out of me or something. It might as well be the thing that scares you the most. So before I go ahead and talk about that, Joaquin was also asked if he like how he feels, or if he pays attention to what people are saying about the project. It's a magnified version of what you deal with as an actor. So when you get a script, obviously the writer, usually for me, it's the writer, director. The last several years, I've worked with a filmmaker that was the writer and director, and they have their expectation. And they've imagined things in their head, and they've imagined different actors. And suddenly you take it on, and so there's this moment of anxiety of, did I live up to their expectations? And at some point, you have to just own it and say, like, I can't consider who they might have thought up before or what the movie was for 6 months ago. This is what it is now, and I have to find my way into it. And in some ways, it's a very similar experience, right? But it feels magnified, because it's not just one person's expectations, but what you're telling me is that there's at least a dozen. Well, that is, to put it lightly, Joaquin, there is obviously quite a lot. And I agree with Joaquin, at a certain point, whether, you know, directors, and if they're writer-directors or anything like that, directors, writers, whatever way you want to put it, they definitely have got this vision in your mind. Like, I have visions and you have visions and expectations of how you want your Joker to be. Now imagine, for example, some people don't like Leto. Like, I'm sure you watching there right now don't like Leto, but imagine if you were directing something. You have an idea or an actor or a person in mind and how you want it to go. So when, like, you land an actor like Joaquin, you're probably thinking, and in terms of the insecurity of this said actor or yourself, imagine yourself in these shoes, you kind of have to let go and just be like, look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to try and worry about what this director is thinking, or like, am I living up to his expectations? And you can kind of reflect this onto the audience. At the end of the day, you kind of have to embrace that you're not going to make everyone happy, and you're just going to have to give it your all. And the thing is, I have absolute faith and confidence in Joaquin, and to be honest, I think he has been quite universally accepted for this role, and most people have said great casting, great choice. But what is also pretty interesting about Joaquin and how he slid into this Joker role, and you know, for the Joker origin movie, is that in this interview we're surprised to learn that he was actually thinking about doing or trying to get involved in a movie like this quite a while ago, around 3 or 4 years ago even. 3 or 4 years ago, I called my agent and said, why don't they want to take one of these characters and just make a lower budget film about it? A movie, but a character study, and why not take one of the villains? And I thought, you can't do the Joker because, you know, it's just, you can't do that character. It's just been done. So I was trying to think of other characters. And he said, and this is his manager, I guess, I'll set up a general meeting with Warner Brothers. And I said, I'm not going to go. I can't go to a general meeting. So I completely forgot about it. And so then I heard about this idea. And I was like, oh, that's so exciting. That's the kind of experience I wanted to have with a movie based on a comic character. I felt like you could get something on screen. Now the thing is, Joaquin isn't like necessarily saying like, oh, I'm not going to general meetings and talking about it with Warner Brothers. It's just more that he is a class actor, and he's not the kind of actor, I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio or someone like that, or someone like Joaquin Phoenix, and this is something that's been discussed quite a bit in terms of Joaquin Phoenix and his role in a Joker origin movie, or the way it's kind of fused together, is the fact that this is like a standalone movie. It's not something that you sign not like your life away, it's a bit dramatic to say, but look at Robert Downey Jr., been in the MCU for 10 years, or just think of other actors and characters in your favorite comic book movies, you know, Ben Affleck or Henry Cavill. You are kind of traditionally in it for multiple years. Joaquin has been kind of waiting for this opportunity for this kind of film, and here he says 3 or 4 years ago, why don't we just take one of these characters and hey, why not let it be a villain instead of a hero that everyone just seems to do, and let's make an interesting character study and a separate kind of feel of a film. And that is exactly what they're doing with this DC Dark, DC Black universe. These kind of almost one shot, like if you think of, and they've put it perfectly here, and the example just came straight to my head. Collider said, think of it as like a DC graphic novel. It's kind of this self-contained story. For example, I don't know, like The Man Who Laughs, that Joker story and Batman story, if I remember correctly, one of the first Joker comics I read. And this is kind of what that's going to be with Joaquin Phoenix and this Joker origin movie. It's going to be this self-contained, cool story. A lot of people are kicking up fuss in terms of saying, but what about Batman? Like, there can't be any Joker without Batman. I actually disagree with that. Many people, I think people just take a lot of things at face value when they say that. And I'm not trying to insult anyone through saying that, but think about Heath Ledger's Joker. He was the Joker before, you know, Jim Gordon showed that Joker card to, you know, Bruce and Batman. Now you could say Batman brought out the Joker. We have yet to see how this happens in the origin film, but I don't have a problem. I do not have a problem with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker telling this tale, this character study, and this more intricate story of how the Joker is created. And still, you know, in this universe, will be up against Batman, but it's not so focused on that. Regardless, I respect Joaquin in terms of the fact that even 4 years ago, he wanted to get into this universe even, or he's just been waiting for the right opportunity. For example, this DC Dark, DC Black, DC Elseworlds universe, where other actors can take on the iconic roles of heroes without being tied to that character for years. And that is exactly what he's done, but he's also waited for the particular film, just like what Todd Phillips is directing with this completely different take. It's its own thing. It's gonna be in the comic book universe, but not in the DCEU. It's gonna be familiar yet different, and this wholesome individual thing that is going to be, I think, very, very good. And honestly, I think it's going to be R-rated. I think it would be silly to not have it R-rated. Even if it isn't, I think it will still be very good. But man, Joaquin Phoenix, a self-contained movie mixed with R-rated, man, that honestly I think is going to be so successful. And I think initially, and I know I'm going on a bit of a ramble right now, the people who aren't liking this movie, it's just, it seems scary to them. The Joker, it's already been, you know, ruined in so many people's minds in a way with Leto and what the DCU has done already, and now there's another movie and people are instantly getting uptight about it and just like, oh my god, this going to be another disaster. What are they doing? Why isn't it not getting involved with Batman particularly? Blah, 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 blah. Trust me. Trust me on this. I think it will be good. I think DC, this new universe they're building, in my eyes, I'm more excited for that universe than the DCEU any day. I seriously am. I'm not joking. But anyway, the last thing he had to say is kind of connected to what I've just been kind of rambling about. And that is about how, you know, this movie isn't connected to everything that we've just been discussing like the DCEU. That's not even the kind of movie they're trying to make anyway. So Joaquin goes on to say, I wouldn't quite classify this as like any genre. I wouldn't say it's a superhero movie or a studio movie or a, you know, it feels unique. And I think more than anything, probably the most important thing is Todd seems very passionate about it and very giving. And so that's exciting. I think underneath the excitement of these films and the size of them, there are these incredible characters that are dealing with real life struggles. And sometimes that is uncovered and exposed, and sometimes it isn't. And so I always felt there were characters in comics that were really interesting and deserve the opportunity to be kind of studied. And so I think that's what Todd sees appealing about this idea. And this is the thing that gives me such inspiration about this film. And not inspiration, about excitement and complete and utter faith even. And that's because not only is what Joaquin's saying here about the film really just makes me feel reassured about it, but it's just more the character study and really getting into the depths of these characters and how that there are these characters like the Joker in the comics that really can be studied and brought out, and the fact that it's going to be just really focused on the Joker. I mean, after all, it's a Joker origin movie and it's not caught up and he's not cameoing like Jared Leto would. Even if Jared Leto was shown a lot more in Suicide Squad, that's not important really. That's not what this movie's about. This is just the Joker, you know, the Joker, something else, a different story, a self-contained story, and it just excites the hell out of me. And this is why I think you should be excited as well. And I just hope maybe through this interview that I've read out and what I've discussed with you guys, if you're like on the fence about this, I hope even my passion and excitement about this film slightly swayed you into a bit more security with it. Or I mean, fair enough. If you don't feel like that, maybe you just need to see a bit more. Maybe you just completely disagree that there is no Joker without Batman. But all I have to say to that is comics can be, and I'm a complete believer of this, done differently, slightly differently sometimes, you know, otherwise you'll be boring. Yes, you may have an idea of the Joker, but the Joker can still be the Joker character and crazy, like this Heath Ledger, like post-war vet kind of person. Like they might be going something like that with this route, with this character, with these real life struggles, but just somehow drove himself insane and stuff like that, and you know, then becomes fascinated with the Batman outside of this Joker origin film or something like that. Not necessarily does the creation have to be completely linked with Ace Chemicals and blah blah blah, and even so, that origin isn't completely canon. You know, he remembers it in multiple different ways. So that flashback, the whole time he was talking to the Batman and you know, reliving it all, that we saw in that comic, doesn't mean diddly squat necessarily. And yes, I just said diddly squat. It's just, I guess people get so fixated about things like that, and they're just like, no, this is how it happens, and if it doesn't happen without the Batman and the freaking chemical van and stuff like that, then screw this movie. Like, no. I'm more about the portrayal and the, you know, the new thing they can bring to it. And of course, if they make him like a Power Ranger and they call it a Joker movie, then fair enough, be annoyed. But so guys, with all that said and me reading out all of this stuff, what do you think about what I've read out? What do you think about what Collider got out of Joaquin Phoenix? And as I said at the beginning of this video, there's more to come, apparently very soon, so I'm looking forward to that. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for me to cover more stuff on the Joker origin movie. But yes, I'm seriously interested in knowing what you think about this Joker origin movie after me breaking down all the stuff that Joaquin had to say to Collider. Do you agree with me slightly more now? Were you on the fence? Just let's start a conversation in the comment section down below. If you like the artwork in this video, I just want to give a shout out to Will Gray. He's the guy who's created these awesome like concepts of Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. So obviously his links are in the description. All my links are there to my social media. If you want to support the channel more, my Patreon's there. But other than that, everybody, that is everything I have to say. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.